Okay, so once you open up Fusion, you'll get this screen. Now, depending on what version of Fusion you're using, if you've got a much more modern version, depends how old this video is when you're watching it, but as of February 2021, this is the layout of it. They do tend to update it every 3 to 4 weeks, so little things do change over time. So don't worry if you're looking at it and there's some things are slightly in different places. So at the top, on the right hand side, you will see first of all is your name will appear there when you have got your educational account sorted out. If there, it occasionally if it's starting to run a little bit slowly, over here to like job status and things like that, it may be that it's doing its update. So when you tend to open it, it will start to do its update. And a little icon will appear there just to let you know that it's doing it. If it tends, I found when it's being slow, it's normally because an update is happening. So the best thing is let that happen, close Fusion again, reopen it, and then it will say update is completed. Um, then on the screen itself, as you see at the minute, the standard that I've got is I've got loads of grid lines on there. You can edit that if you want to. So down at the bottom, you will find these options here. So you've got viewpoints. That means I can basically have a look around. So what this is doing now is showing isometric top, side, and bottom. So I don't want to have that on, so I'm going to turn that off. So let's go to single view so I can go back to my original view. If I want to have the grid off, I can turn it off that way. Some people prefer to do that if they wish to. And snap to grid, so if I want to have that on or off, depending if I'm working, what I'm drawing, if I want my lines to snap onto the grid, I can turn that on and off as well. I'll leave it on for now. Now, these ones you won't be able to see what it does because I've not got anything actually drawn on the screen yet. But you can change things like the visual style of how the thing will actually look when you're drawing it. And then you can environment, you can change. So at the minute it's photo booth. You could change it to darker if you wish to. It is a case of just what do you prefer. So you can see what they all do. I personally do like the photo booth one, so I'm going to stick with that one. And then the other options that you've got here are to do with zooming in and out and panning and that sort of thing. So this is where having a decent mouse helps. So obviously to zoom in and out, what you can do is use your scroll wheel to zoom in and zoom out. If you click in the scroll wheel, you can also pan your screen around like that. Then at the top right, just down on the screen, you've got your view cube. So that view cube will let you rotate the whole thing around. You can go to 2D views if you want. Just click on the side and it will show you 2D. And then on that, you can then click on the arrows. It will rotate it around. And if at any point you want to reset what you've done, just click on the home icon and it will reset back to normal again. Then on the left-hand side, you got your document settings here. If you click on this little arrow to get the drop-down menu, at the minute we're in millimeters. Okay, we're in the UK. We use the metric system. So it should automatically go to millimeters for you. If you're doing any tutorials from anyone in America, there's a good chance they'll be in inches, so just make sure when you're doing that sometimes, because I've done that before when I'm following a tutorial and there turns out they're in inches and I've not realised about until a little bit through it. It gets a little bit irritating. You can change that quite easily, so just hold down and then go to this icon here, click, and then this little menu will appear. So I've got millimeters. You can have centimeters, meters, inches, or feet if you wish to as well, but we will stick to millimeters for this. And then that is the basics of what we're doing. The next thing as well is always a good idea to, once you start, is save what you've done, like save your file straight away. Okay, because then what will happen is it will enable autosave, so constantly as you're working it will keep saving. So what we're going to have a go at doing for the first part is just modelling a Lego block. So this is the drawing I'm going to reference. I'll put a copy of this drawing in the description of the video as well for you, so it should have all the measurements as we're going through it. And I'll talk through it as we're doing it as well, but just in case you want to do it at a later date. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just save, and I'm going to go to learning, and I'll just type in okay, so that is now enabled autosave. So everything you do starts with sketches, really. That's the best way of looking at it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here and click Create Sketch. And it's going to ask me to select a plane. Now, you can't just draw in the middle of in thin air. Okay, you need to draw onto something. So for now, we need to draw on a plane. Now, think of a plane as like a piece of paper. We can do it on the side, front, or on the floor. Okay, so I'm going to click on the bottom like that, and it will rearrange the page so that we're looking straight down on it. Now that we're in the sketch menu, our menu at the top has changed completely. So we've got loads and loads of different options. Okay, so I'm going to be flicking backwards and forwards from this drawing. So we're going to start off with a nice simple 2D drawing. So we're going to start off with a rectangle. So the overall size of this is 30.8 and 40.8. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rectangle, and I'm going to move it around. Now I can put the measurements in exactly how I want, like this. So I could do 30.8, and then I forgot what the other one was, so let's go back. 14.8. So let's start that again. So 14.8, and then what I can do is I hit tab and it'll jump to the other one, and then I can go 30.8 and hit enter. Okay, so when it goes black, that means it's fully constrained. You've got measurements in there and it's done that way. Just to show you another way of doing that, I'm just going to delete that. I'm just going to do the same again. I'm just going to draw a rectangle, but I'm not going to bother putting measurements in. Okay, so what I can do now, I can put measurements on retroactively. Now at the top here, there's a sketch dimension tool, or if you hit D on your keyboard, click on the line, and it comes up with the little dimensions one, so we can put in what we want. So I'm going to do 14.8. I'm going to double check I was right there. Yeah, and then I'm going to do same again, dimension 30.8. Hit enter. So there's two ways of doing it really. You can do the measurements exactly as you're going, or some people like to do the rough shape first and then refine it with the exact measurements afterwards. That's the way I tend to do it. I think it's a little bit easier. I get a rough idea first, then I put the exact measurements in as I'm going. So that's all we're going to do for now. I'm just going to then finish sketch at the top. I'm just going to rotate, and you can see all I've done is just draw a little rectangle. So we're going to turn that into a 3D shape now. So we need to see how thick this is going to be. So it's going to be 9.1. Okay. So to make that 3D, I need to do something called an extrude. So on the create menu, I've got extrude here, or if I go to drop down, extrude, or if you see here as well, there's an E next to extrude. That means there's a keyboard shortcut for it. So if I hit E and then I can drag up, I can start to make that 3D. Now I've forgotten what that was because my memory is terrible. 9.1. Now because I've just jumped out of that, it's already done it for me, but I need to, that's not going to be exactly right. So down at the bottom here in my history, I can right click and I can go on edit feature. I can change that to 9.1 and hit enter. So that is now done. So far we've done, so we draw a rectangle nice and simple, and then we've extruded it. So now we'll do our little bobbly bits that make it an actual Lego block. So now I'm going to go and create a sketch. Now that we've got an object, we still need to draw on a plane or a surface, but I can now click on a surface of a shape that I've got. So I'm going to click on that surface, and now again it rearranges my page so that I can draw on it. So I'm just going to get two circles, and I'm not going to bother putting exact measurements in there yet. I'm just going to draw them like that. So now I'm going to have a look at the measurements here. So I have said on here, so the diameter, because that's what that symbol there is, of 4.6. So I'm going to hit D for dimension on my keyboard, click on this circle, type 4.6 and hit enter. So that's the right size. Now I could do exactly the same thing to that one, or what we're going to use quite a lot of in this video is constraints, which are on this menu up here. So these are really, really useful for making like everything equal, make everything match up. So you'll see what I mean in a second. So I'm going to click on equal. So I want this circle here to be equal to that circle. All right. So what that means here now is if I change this measurement to 9, they both get bigger. Okay. So I'll put that back to 4.6. So the reason I didn't do the measurement for both. So now basically, if I'd want to change all of them at once, I could just change one and it will do them all at the same time. Okay, so then they need to be lined up. So what I'm going to do is do horizontal, vertical. In fact, just to make it really obvious what's happening, so I'm going to move it to the side a little bit. What I want is this circle needs to be horizontal, vertical with that one, and it matches it so they're exactly in line together. So next measurements we want, so it needs to be 3.9 away from the edge. So what we're going to do, we're going to go dimension, click here, click on the edge, say 3.9, hit enter, and it moves them both. I'll do the same again, click there and there. It needs to be 3.9. Like that, and you'll see that that circle now is going black. That means it's fully constrained. So I'm going to do the same for this edge here. So I could again type 3.9, or what I could do, I can click on that measurement, the 3.9 that I've already got, and it automatically will reference that measurement. So I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to stay in place. So now I am done with that sketch as well. So again, I'm going to hit finish sketch. So we need to make that 3D, so we're going to use extrude. So I'm going to just check the height, so 1.5. So I'm going to hit E on my keyboard. I'm then going to highlight both of those circles, and then 3.9. That is absolutely the wrong number. What did I say? 1.5, sorry. So I'm going to go back and edit that and change that to 1.5. So let's do 1.5. There you go, that looks much better. So obviously we need to have multiple bobbly bits, whatever the technical term may be for the Lego blocks. I could just draw each circle out individually, but that would take time, and there are tools built into Fusion that will do a lot of the work for us. So what we're going to do is create a pattern. So we're going to go to create and go to pattern, and I want rectangular pattern. So I'll get this menu. Now type, so we want to do features, because I want to pattern the extrude, and the extrude is a feature. So I'm going to click on it, and you see it makes them blue. Now the direction is just saying, okay, which way do you want to pattern them? So I'm just going to click on any one of these lines here, because it'll just show the way that I want to go. And if I just drag this arrow here, you'll see what happens. It's starting to repeat what I've done. So I need to have 4 rows of them, and then the distance, so let's see what the distance needs to be. So the distance from center to center for those is 24. So let's just go quickly and edit that. And the distance will be okay, and I'm going to just have a look. And that's not quite right because the distance there is not right. So let's just go back. I'll do 23. And there we go. So that is that bit done. So rather than, basically we saved ourselves some extra steps there. Rather than drawing each one out individually, we've just done it that way instead. So what we'll then do is we need to round these edges off. So for that, we're going to modify what we've done. So under the modify menu, we've got fillet. Again, there's a shortcut key F. So I'm going to hit F. I'm going to click on the wrong piece. So I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to click on the surface. I'm going to hit fillet, and what I'm going to do, so the fillet is 0.2 millimeters. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to click and say 0.2. So you see that it rounds the edges off, but I don't want to just fillet one. I want to fillet all of them. So I'm going to hold down Control with my keyboard and then click on all the other ones as well. And at the minute, nothing's happening, it's just selecting them. But once I finish clicking, and I let go of Control, you'll see it's filleted all of them at the same time. And then I'll hit OK, like that. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to hollow out, because obviously Lego bricks are hollow. So the wall thickness is 1.49. So we're going to remember that this time, hopefully. So I'm going to flip it upside down. I'm going to use the shell command because I want to shell out what I've done. So I'm going to click on the edge and I'm going to just drag the arrow out so you can see what happens. Now I'm going to type in 1.49 and hit enter. And you can see we've now got our hollow Lego brick. Now obviously we still got some work to do, but at the minute we're making some progress. So next thing we're going to have a look at doing is making these pieces here that allow the blocks to actually connect together. So what we're going to do to make our lives a lot easier again, so we're going to start a sketch on this surface here. And then I'm going to flip it back over again. So we're going to, because I want to reference this model here already, because what will happen, those three blocks, the three bits that stick out basically go in between each set of four blocks of bobbly bits, and that's how it all fits together. So I'm going to reference those so we know it's exactly in line. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to create and project. Or again, there's P, there's a keyboard shortcut, P for project. So I'm going to hit P on my keyboard and I'm just going to click each one of these circles, and then I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to go over, and all that's happened is it is literally just done an outline of where those circles are, because that means that I can reference them exactly where I want them to be. So now I'm going to draw 3 circles. I'm purposely going to do them a little bit off, and I'm not going to put the measurements in. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use some more constraints. So I'm going to use tangent. So I want this circle to be tangent to that one. Again, I want it to be tangent to that one. And that one. And you see that it goes black because it's fully constrained. So I'm going to do the same to this circle. So again, I want it to be tangent to that. And that one. And that one. So that one I've actually referenced the wrong one there. So I should have done the other line. So what I'm going to do is just delete that. Let's go back again and say tangent to there. And there you go, that is much better. And same again, I want this tangent to this circle, and to this circle. So I didn't need to constrain to all 4 circles, because once you've done 3, it knows exactly the size that it needs to be. Okay, so next, obviously, we need to make it a little bit hollow. So they are 1mm thick, so you can see it's 6.7 and then 5.7. So I could draw another circle on the inside, or what I could do is do offset, click on that circle, and at the minute that's on plus, but if I move it inside, you see it goes to minus, so I'm going to go -1. And then I'm going to hit OK, and then I'm going to do the same again, so I'm going to go -1, and then same again, let's do hit enter, and then same again, go on offset and go to -1, like that. So all that's to do, I'm going to finish sketch, I'm going to hit E on my keyboard for extrude, I'm going to select these 3 pieces, and I'm going to start to drag out so you can see how big they're going to be. Now, I don't know exactly how far they need to go. All I know is it needs to match up to this edge. So what I'm going to do is click on this edge, and straight away it snaps to exactly where it needs to go. And I'm going to hit OK. So what we've got now is our pieces. So we've got our bubbly bits on the top, we've got our bits underneath that will match up with it. Last thing to do to just get the model itself actually done is to just finish off filleting everything else. So if we have a look at our drawing, all fillets on the outside are 0.5. So that's the last thing we're going to do now. So I'm going to go to fillet. So I'm going to hit F on my keyboard. I'm going to select all these edges. Making sure I'm rotating my model around as I'm going. And type in 0.5. And you'll see that that's rounded off all of my edges. I'm going to hit OK. Okay, so what we've done, so this is the end of the first part of the mini project that we've got going on with our Lego block. So we'll stop for a second now before we move on to the second part. So if you were just looking how to do basic modelling, this is what we've covered. So what we've covered so far is the basics of sketching, adding dimensions, using constraints, how to extrude things, and then fillets and projecting.